Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And good morning, Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen of the Iowa House. I want to give a special welcome to the new legislators and their families. I hope you find your time here rewarding as you serve the people of Iowa as I have. Congratulations on your election. Make no doubt, we are living in tumultuous times, and the pandemic has added to the challenges we are already faced in Iowa, with a shortage of good-paying jobs, inadequate access to health care, and low public school funding and ignored environmental issues. The first priority of this session must be working to get the pandemic under control. A failure of leadership at both the federal and state level have already left over 4,000 Iowans dead, and our state's response has been grossly inadequate. Next, we need a robust COVID package focused on long-term recovery efforts to help our economy. We need aggressive plans to help families recover, get kids back to school safely, reopen small businesses, and support our dedicated healthcare workers who are on the front lines of this pandemic. If you look at history, we are not in uncharted waters. Similar challenges have been met by our country and state in the past. We can competently address the pandemic. We can build our economy, fix our healthcare system, and protect civil rights. We have the ability and the resources to solve environmental problems and address climate change. Solutions are within our reach. What is needed is leadership. We in this chamber need to acknowledge and address the difficulties that Iowans are facing during this time of pandemic. Finally, like many of you, I am disturbed by the riots at our nation's capital and around the country. It epitomizes a lack of respect for our democratic institutions, traditions, and the rule of law itself. Rioters have been motivated by lies, contrived for political purposes. Those responsible for the riots have crossed a line that no American, Democrat, or Republican should ever cross. This breach results and threatens the very fabric of our democracy. The riot in D.C. reminded me of time in El Salvador, right after their civil war in the 90s. Early in my Army career, I was stationed there. I witnessed a country torn apart by hate, violence, and mistrust. Their society was broken and crime was rampant. There were two competing police forces, one loyal to the former regime and one dominated by former rebels. What I remember most vividly are the stories of the atrocities and the pain from years of war and years of loss. It is up to us, the newly sworn leaders, to protect our country from the fate of further division. Thank you. Thank you. As a 25-year Army veteran, I was outraged by the contempt shown for the ideals I have spent my adult life trying to protect. I spent a tour in Iraq, and I know an insurgency when I see one. On Wednesday, a Confederate flag, a banner of oppression and treason, was paraded through our nation's capital. Explosive devices were placed at both the Democratic and Republican national headquarters in Washington. People were killed needlessly, including a police officer. We cannot turn a blind eye to these events and what led up to them. As an elected leader, I am disgusted at the reaction, or rather the inaction, of some and many of my Republican colleagues here in Iowa. For too long, politicians have not only enabled, but served as a willing partner in the spread of misinformation about election fraud. Silence is deafening. If you cannot condemn this violence against our democracy in our capital, what will you condemn? Until you have committed yourself to truth and democratic ideals, you lose any moral high ground that you may try to claim. I believe in truth and justice are the pillars of a successful democracy. As leaders in this great state and nation, I also believe in a fundamental responsibility to strengthen and not weaken those pillars. But the insurrection has exposed deep cracks in those pillars that can't be fixed without change from us as leaders. When the QAnon conspiracy is held out as truth and leaders claim that COVID-19 is simply an internet hoax, truth is the victim and Iowans die. When the governor defends those who question the legitimacy of our elections, a crack develops in the pillar of truth. When a member of this chamber peddles election fraud conspiracy theories and has written that Republicans will prevail because, in his words, our side has the guns, there's another crack in the pillar of truth. This behavior threatens our democracy and our society. Its time must end. Now, in a new year and in a new term, is a time to mend the wounds of a fractured country. We are the leaders that must work together to restore faith and hope in our future. We do this together. We must, for the sake of our democracy, heal this country. I challenge each and one of us in this chamber to be the leader that this moment in our history requires. Put country and state ahead of party politics. In other words, be a true patriot. Be honest to constituents. Deal in truth, not the politics of fear or internet conspiracies. Help turn the tide. Do your part to strengthen our democracy. I look forward to serving with you in this upcoming term.